from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Talking Catholic. This is the official podcast of the Catholic community of South Jersey, where we talk to the movers and shakers, those who are making an impact here in the Catholic community of South Jersey, the faithful. I'm Pete Sanchez, along with Michael Walsh. Michael, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. Doing very well, actually.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, we are here recording. We're in the middle of July. And it always seems to me like July 4th is kind of it's always a come down. Like it's the, Memorial Day is all exciting. You got the summer, and then July 4th comes around. And it's like, oh man, we only got a few. I don't know.
You're bummed
for me? Yeah.
We're barely in the middle of summer?
I don't know. I feel like I can already see the Endgame.
Well, that's true. We did. We saw it in April 24th.
But I mean, yeah, it just, I don't know.
I don't know. If it makes you feel any better, there's 7 more weeks until Labor Day.
Thank God.
Okay.
Thank God. Maybe because I just came back. We talked about our respective vacations. You camping, and I was at the shore.
That was not a vacation. I refuse to refer to that as a vacation. Sitting outdoors for 7 days straight in the heat and humidity and walking 10 to 12 miles a day while my son did scalp stuff. No, that was not it.
Okay.
Being covered in bug spray, and that's not vacation. I was off from work, except for all the work I did while I was down there. No, it's funny you should say that. I'm actually planning my vacation right now. Actually, Jennifer and I sat down on, Sunday night and started putting together our trip to Canada. We're going to do a driving trip to Canada. We're going to go to, it's our 20th anniversary coming up. And for our honeymoon of our 20th, we went to Niagara Falls. So we're going to take Jack, our son, and we're going to go to Niagara Falls for a night. Then we're going to go to Toronto for 2 nights. Then we're going to go to Ottawa for 2 nights. Then we're going to go to Montreal for a night. And then we're going to go to Cooperstown on the way back.
Oh,
and somewhere in there, we may go to Buffalo and go to where the Jennifer and Jack are big buffalo wing people. And so we might go to the Anchor Bar where the buffalo wing was created. But and then head back home. So it's probably going to be a week in Canada. Which as someone of Canadian descent, I'm very excited about.
That is so cool. Man, I can't wait to see your Instagram feed.
Yeah. I plan on overloading it with pictures of all of my Canadian brethren.
That's in poutine, right?
I do like poutine. That is true. I'm going to go to Swiss Chalet, which I've never been to before, which is basically a chain restaurant for them. I'm going to hit every Tim Hortons I can find, even though I don't drink coffee. But I'm going to eat all the Timbits I can get my hands on. And I'm going to get some toques. And I'm going to say a boot by the time I get home. And I can't wait to go to Quebec, not Quebec City, but the Quebec province, so I can break out my terrible French. I'm really looking forward to going to Ottawa, which is their national capital, because just some beautiful architecture up there, and it's just gorgeous and wonderful museums and places like that. So I'm really looking forward to this trip. It better not fall through. A lot of plans that my wife and I create for vacations end up falling through. We're supposed to go to Gettysburg over the 4th of July. That didn't happen. So I'm really hopeful this one will pan out.
I hope so too. You deserve it, Mike.
I agree.
That sounds wonderful.
It really does. I'm looking forward to it.
I apologize for that. So for you, that's great. You have an upcoming summer. I guess with me, I kind of feel like I don't really have too many plans, maybe some day trips here and there. It still should be good. The weather's still nice outside. But when I say nice, I mean the sun's out. I'd rather take this than, I know I've said in the past, I like winter more. But I don't know. I don't mind it. I don't know. I find like the cool nights
of summer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So,
no. I think that's no. I mean, I certainly trust me as a guy who until very recently never really took time away from the office. I had the blessing of being able to go to England and Germany in November. But as a general rule, I'm always in the office. So I chastise myself all the time because I never take day trips anywhere. I never just take a day off. It's always got to be some big thing. I'm trying to make myself understand that, taking off a Friday and going to the shore, or taking off a Friday and making a long weekend out of going to the Chesapeake or going to the Poconos or something like that is a perfectly normal, good mental health thing to do. And I never remember about it until September comes around and I can't take any days off. But so yes, you should do that, Pete.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I might take a day here to come down. It's actually this week. This is exciting. The 144th Our Lady of Mount Carmel Festival is taking place once again in Hamilton, New Jersey. The feast day, of course, of Our Lady of Mount Carmel is July 16th, so it's running on all this week. And this is taking place at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, right near, it's French Street around Our Lady of Mount Carmel, Hamilton.
It's right off at the main drag in Hamilton.
Exactly. And
beautiful, lovely, awesome Hamilton with its fantastic food and its blueberries and its wonderful people. And I mean, just go for the food alone. To the Mount Carmel Festival, in addition to all the rides and fun that's going on there.
And music. There's Karaoke Idol, Mike. It should be neat. I can't do karaoke. I mean, I would probably do Queen.
I would watch other people do Karaoke Idol.
Well, this takes place. Actually, we missed it. It looks like no Karaoke Idol.
Bummer.
That was yesterday. Darn it. But there is going to be Bob Pantano's dance party is going to be Friday night, and Jerry Blavat's going to be in town. So this is the longest running Italian festival in the United States. So a funnel cake, there's a wine and beer garden, raffles, and vendors, fireworks, Mega 50 drawing, I should say. And Bishop Sullivan will celebrate Mass at St. Joseph's Church on the feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel, July 16th, 9 a.m. He's going to celebrate the Society Mass for deceased members at 9 a.m. And then there will also be an Italian Mass and a Spanish Mass following this, again on July 16th. And there'll be a procession and a living rosary. So for more information, go to www.mountcarmelsociety.org. I hope to, I'm going to try to make it down at least one night this week. And should be good. The food stand is open for lunch 11 to 1:30, and nightly it opens back up at 5 p.m. And on the feast day, July 16th, the stand opens at 11 a.m. This sounds really... So come for fun, come for games, come for music, and come for the food.
Mostly the food. All the other stuff too, but mostly the food.
Yeah, if I can get a good meatball sandwich, I'll be happy.
I think I think you really want to go for the true Italian feast foods. Not that meatballs aren't Italian, they certainly are, but I think you really want to be going for like the roast pork with a little broccoli rabe, all the cannolis you can find.
Yeah, no, the roast pork and broccoli rabe is good. I don't know. I'm partial to the meatball sandwich. That's all I need.
Okay.
I guess I'm simple like that.
Hey, man, no one will argue with you for a meatball sub.
Exactly. I remember our friend Father Rob had I judged a meatball contest.
Here's the thing. I've known Father Rob now for 6 years, I guess, and I've heard tell of his famous meatballs. I've never actually seen them or tasted them. I'm beginning to think they are a snuffleupagus. That they don't actually exist.
I was going to make a Seinfeld reference, but I think that would be inappropriate. They are real, Mike. They are real. Those meatballs.
You say so.
They're they're amazing. And it's funny because the meatball contest, he didn't win. It was a blind taste test. He didn't win, but I tried 4 meatballs and I picked his just because it was the best out of them in my head. And I didn't know it at the time. So he does like a way to put breadcrumbs in there or pork. I think it's just, Father Rob, I think he needs to bring them here.
Well, we've talked about having a food podcast with him in the past. So I think what should happen is he should create a smorgasbord, and then we'll go down to Vineland and we'll do taste testing on the podcast.
Well, you can cook too, Mike.
I can cook.
So you can cook, and I can do some pretty good food. So
okay.
I can make. I do make I can make a taco dip. That's kind of my thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
It's simple. I mean, it's not. I feel like taco dip's kind of easy. Meatballs are a little more difficult, but
I don't know if I would refer to a meatball as difficult.
It can be. I think you got to get
baking is difficult. Cooking is not that hard. All you have to do is not screw it up.
Well, see, you bake though. See, I think that is a skill that I honestly admire because I wish I could bake. And I've seen your pictures of you do bread, you do scones.
I do everything.
I mean,
but I don't do it enough. I was actually this weekend. It was 4th of July weekend. And I thought about baking, and I never got around to it. I had a ton of time doing it. I never got around to it. It was a shame. But it was hot and it was stormy, and I was like, I just don't feel like it. So
yeah,
it's the problem with the summer. It's hard to bake. It's easy to bake in the winter because it's cold. You're like, I'll bake and it'll warm up.
Exactly.
And you're trying to stockpile all those calories so you don't die in the middle of the year. You're just during the hibernation. But in the summertime, you just want to eat light. So I didn't feel like baking. However, what else is going on in the diocese?
Well, we got coming up in Atlantic City, our friends, the Franciscan Sisters of the Renewal, once again are holding a heart-to-heart Youth Holy Hour and Social. This is Sunday, July 21st, starting at 4 p.m. at St. Michael Church, the Corumba Hall. And this is for high school youth groups and teens. There'll be pizza, fellowship, adoration with music and meditations guided by the CFR sisters. For more information, call 609-343-1545. Again, this is Heart to Heart Youth and Holy Hour Social, July 21st at 4 p.m. for teens. And then, Mike, you and I and Mary McCusker and we've talked about the trip to the border that the diocese has taken, the solidarity pilgrimages to the
I just
US.
had to turn down an opportunity to go down there. They had a hole open up in one of their pilgrimages, so they asked if I could go, and I just wasn't able to fit it in the schedule, which is a bummer because I really do want to go.
Yeah, it's hard to hear that, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully soon. Hopefully you can join the solidarity pilgrimages to the U.S.-Mexico border. There are opportunities for those here in South Jersey to learn about all the complexity of the issues going on with migration in this country. And pilgrims will serve newly arrived migrants at the Catholic Charities of the Rio Grande Valley's the Humanitarian Respite Center in McAllen, Texas, and learn about the life in the Rio Grande Valley through a variety of activities and cultural exchanges. And we've published, and we've had people on the podcast here talk about their experience. Mm-hmm. Mary's published great stories in the Catholic Star Herald. Mm-hmm. So there's no reason not to go. For more information, go to https://catholiccharities.camden.org/st-j-pilgrimages. For more
Can I say that URL address real quick?
That's sure.
I want to look at it and see if there's a shorter way for us to create that thing. So yeah, catholiccharities.camden.org/stj-pilgrimages/ Yeah. I got to talk to Mary about creating a more concise URL address for this gig. Maybe nobody's getting to it or not enough people are signing up for it because we made the URL address too hard to remember.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, this is sponsored by the Catholic Charities, of course, the Youth and Young Adult and Campus Ministries, the Diocese of Camden's Life and Justice Ministries, and all these events and more. If you can't remember this URL, everything's on camdendiocese.org.
And we have a bunch of other stuff coming up as well. We got Man Up South Jersey, which is coming up in November. We got the other Catholic Charities event, the Justice for All dinner, coming up in October.
Yeah.
And you can always find out more about those. You can go to manupsouthjersey.org or .com. We have both of them to learn more about Man Up, which is a men's spirituality conference for the men of South Jersey. Because let's face it, when it comes to connecting with their spiritual faith, men oftentimes have a very hard time doing that. So, anything we can do to make it a little bit easier on guys to be able to actually focus on their faith publicly, I think that's something that's needed. And then what's it called? The other one I just said that you're looking at, right? The Justice for All dinner.
Yeah, October 3rd.
Coming up on October 3rd, where we'll be honoring the local Disciples of Mercy and Cardinal Tagle from the Archdiocese of Manila in the Philippines. That's going to be a great event. And if you haven't yet already, I hope people will nominate someone to be a Disciples of Mercy. But that's also available on the catholiccharities.camden.org website. However, let us bring in our guest, Pete. Who do we have with us today?
We have Katie Comerford, the Associate Director of Development for the Diocese of Camden. Katie, how are you?
I'm doing well. So excited that you invited me to be on the show.
Oh, well, you were probably one of the most enthusiastic people wanting to come on this show. Remember when I first met you, or I think a few days after you started, we were talking about the podcast, and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to come on. And so, I think even more so, at least for me, you're a big Marvel fan.
Oh, huge Marvel fan. Huge. And I owe it all to my husband. He forced me. We were sitting on my couch and he goes, Kathleen, and he's the only one that calls me Kathleen.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, look, you need to watch Marvel. I feel like you would love it. So for a good week, we binged all of the Marvel movies. And ever since, I've been so grateful to him. And he still takes complete ownership of my obsession. But,
well, like any good husband would. I can respect that.
Oh, absolutely.
But, you've actually, we talked about you were a recent member of the Diocese of Camden, but that's not entirely true. Actually, Katie and I have been working together for just over 2 years, maybe, I guess. Yeah. For everyone who just loves the Catholic Strong program that we rolled out through the Diocese of Camden, Katie was one of the initial directors that came on board. It was yourself and
Meg Simeo, Matt
Stossel. Yeah, those are the three people we met right from the beginning as we were developing the Catholic Strong program, and so you've actually been sort of part of this diocese for quite some time.
Yeah.
So you are what I would call, and you are, not just what I would call, but you are a professional fundraiser.
Yes.
So one of the questions I have is someone who has done fundraising professionally in my past and sort of tangentially now, what are you thinking? Why would you do that? It's such a difficult job.
It's so funny because everyone that you meet, you're either a fundraiser or you're not. Mm-hmm. And for me, I guess it just was one of those things where I knew that I wanted to help people, and fundraising is the way to go. You get to raise money for all these important causes and these important missions, and to have a hand in that was something that I really felt strongly about. So It just felt right,
When you first worked with the diocese, you were working as a vendor for Changing Our World.
Yes.
Beloved Changing Our World, who gave us a lot of great work and insight into best practices when it comes to fundraising. Certainly, we have our own fundraising team, of which you are now part of it, our development department, now under the auspices of Marianne Gilbride. But but for a big project like that, you want to bring in a vendor who really knows their stuff and have been down this road before. Sure. So what led you to joining Changing Our World?
Yeah, so I graduated from college with a sociology degree. Wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it.
Yeah.
And luckily, the summer right after college, I saw that they were in need of interns. And it was a perfect opportunity for me to go. And, they're a philanthropic consulting firm, so I was able to work with a lot of different organizations and kind of get my feet wet first. And then about 6 months into it, they were like, you know what, Kate, do you want to move to St. Louis and help with the Archdiocesan campaign over there? And from that moment on, it was from diocese to diocese to diocese, and campaign to campaign. And I guess by the third one, it just felt like it's like I knew exactly what I was doing. I felt good. I felt confident. But it was a good 4-year process.
That sounds, as I got to meet all the directors and get to know them a lot closely, because I had a good, strong working relationship with everybody. The thing that amazed me was just how much travel was involved and how long you were away for such long stretches of time.
Yeah.
One of our good former Changing Our World coworkers, Vanessa Dickerson. I actually just heard her on another podcast recently. She was on there being interviewed about actually it was the Changing Our World podcast, as a matter of fact, talking about things. But the thing that got me is she lives down in Texas, just outside of Dallas, Texas, with her family, her 4 kids and stuff like that. But she worked up here for over a year.
Yeah.
And was here, except for the weekends, almost every day.
Yeah.
And that is being very dedicated to your career when
absolutely.
You can do that. How was that for you?
So for me, it was easier because I was in my 20s. I had all of this, opportunity in front of me. I didn't have anything tying me down at that time. So St. Louis was a great way for me to grow personally and professionally. And then I was lucky to come back to Trenton, which was my second campaign. And I live in New Jersey, so I didn't have to worry about that travel. And then went to Camden. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have I had a good year and a half out in St. Louis, but other than that, I was in Jersey. But I won't lie, that was one of the reasons I decided to kind of veer away from consulting, just because of the fact that I'm just recently married. Obviously, I want to have a family, and I can't imagine going from campaign to campaign, because it's just... it gets too much, and I always admired my colleagues for being able to do that. Like Sean Trahan was fantastic, so good at her craft and so willing to go wherever she was needed. And Vanessa, she had a 13-year-old daughter, you know? So that was something that I knew I wouldn't be able to really do.
Yeah.
So...
But no, that's great that you had the opportunity to come back to Jersey in general. Although I am curious, what did you enjoy about, not so much the work, but what did you enjoy about being in St. Louis? I've always wanted to go to St. Louis, and I've never had the opportunity.
So I loved the fact that you could walk down the street and someone would smile at you. It is...
Midwest nice.
Yes, you have that Midwest nice, and I am a huge fan of that.
Yeah.
So, you know, being able to smile and say hello to somebody when I'm walking my dog down the street was a huge plus.
Now, as you and I are both Northeasterners, and Pete as well, I have traveled all over the country, right? I had a similar job where I had to travel a lot for work.
Yeah.
And the thing that always got me, that I had the most difficult time with, was Midwest nice. Because as a Northeasterner, when someone's nice to you or looks at you or smiles at you, you would just naturally assume something shifty is going on.
Yep.
I remember being in Minnesota in the airport, and I was just going to one of the airport restaurants, and I was struggling with my bag and my coat, and it was dead of winter. And somebody next to me goes, "Can I hold that for you?" I remember looking at them and going, "No, we can't hold it for me. Get out of here." And thinking about it, and then that was early in my career, and as I met more Midwestern, I was like, "Oh, that was genuine. Oh, that was so sweet. That's so nice." So I completely understand.
Oh yeah,
seeing somebody smiling at you.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Well, did you go to any? I hear that ballpark's beautiful.
The ballpark is amazing, and they have right next to it this big building that has a bunch of different, food courts and like a beer garden kind of thing. There's this one place called Fox Sports Live where you can get these awesome nachos, have your cocktail, and watch the game on a huge big screen, huge. So I went there quite a bit for football games, but they're not huge fans of the Seahawks or anything over there. Anything that's not St. Louis.
Well, it's funny because here, it's a football town, Philly.
Yep.
But in St. Louis, it seems to be just baseball.
Baseball, yeah.
And that's awesome. I have family who live in St. Louis and Arkansas. And it's interesting, I guess, Arkansas, they are...
Wait, you have family that lives in St. Louis and Arkansas?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the family from St. Louis, family in St. Louis now lived in Arkansas. Yeah. You would think they'd be Texas fans. I don't know, but they're Cardinals fans. And my grandfather grew up with Stan Musial.
That I find that Midwesterners kind of make their decisions because the Midwest is so huge, you're either a Cardinals fan, a Royals fan, or a Cubs fan. Like you either make the drive up to Chicago. Right. None of them seem to be White Sox fans that I've ever met from that sort of central Midwest. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the Cardinals fans, they just all, it helps to have won a lot of World Series.
Yeah.
But
that's one thing I didn't do when I was there. I didn't go to a Cardinals game.
Did you not?
No.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
But I went to the park. Like I went to the surrounding areas.
You were able to see that.
I did
fandom.
see it. Yeah.
That's cool. And so you worked. How many? Do you have an estimation, or do you even know how many dioceses you've been to?
So for me, it was 3 because they're about 2-year campaigns. So I spent year and a half in St. Louis, about a year and a half in Trenton, and then I think I was here for a year and a half because I was here for like that preparation period before the campaign actually started. Right. So I would say ultimately, it was a year and change for each. So,
I'm curious, you running 3 major campaigns, particularly one in the Midwest and then 2 in Jersey. Did you find that there's sort of a different, for someone with a sociology degree, did you find that there was a bit of a different psychology in how fundraising works in the Midwest versus the Northeast?
So it was interesting because I went in with a mindset that it would be easier in St. Louis to raise the money, especially for the Catholic Church and for the Archdiocese, than it would be raising money here in New Jersey. But it was actually a bigger struggle over
Was
there.
it?
Yeah. And, you know, for us, that was a little surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
Because Minnesota Nice didn't translate to Minnesota.
Yeah, I honestly thought,
for money?
and there's so many parishes that had huge goals because of how generous their parishioners were, and they ultimately reached it. You know, I think St. Louis raised over $100 million.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, their mindset wasn't as open initially. I think towards the end, you know, they got the idea, and they're doing great things with that money over there now.
I'm curious, you know, one of the things that we really spent a lot of time with Talking Catholic was trying to educate. So the way that all these fundraising plans work, and I'm assuming St. Louis was the same as Trenton, was the same as Camden in this regard, that, you know, they're really designed for the laity to take a major active role in coordinating the fundraising and actually doing the asks.
Yes.
Of course, the pastor is expected to do some, and naturally the bishop for a diocesan-wide campaign, the bishop is expected to do a little bit of that as well. But the people is really where this comes from, because they certainly in New Jersey or in the Diocese of Camden, these were very much parish focused, which I know we'll get to that in a second. That was rather unique. But the way these things work is the people themselves are the ones who go out and ask for money as volunteers. So the thing that I found was that I think we spent a lot of time doing, but I almost wonder if there could have been more effort put in this regard, was teaching people how to fundraise properly.
Yes.
And the psychology that goes beyond it. I mean, both Matt and Sean Trahan, who replaced Matt here, they were great and all the directors were as well, with teaching the people, you know, how to break down their walls of fear. To doing that. I'm just, you know, in the people you've worked with, like, what techniques have you used to help people get more comfortable with that?
Yeah, so everybody's first instinct is always to get nervous when they're asking for money. But I always remind them that, you know, you're inviting them to participate in something that's bigger than all of us. And once you believe in it, you can get somebody else to believe in it. And what they're doing is just allowing somebody else to make their own educated decision on whether they can give, you know, to the cause, to the campaign, to, you know, whatever they're asking for. And I feel like a lot of the times people are scared and think that there will be a negative reaction. But if, you know, you make it personal and you tell them why it means something to you and why their gift would make a difference, people usually, you know, they respond. And they're always surprised by the positive responses they get. I remember doing my trainings with my committees, and they did not believe, you know, oh gosh, you know, I can't ask for this amount of money. They won't do this. And they'll come back with that pledge card in hand and say, oh my goodness, Katie, it worked. And you could just see that fire ignite in them once they get their first positive reaction. It's always that fear of the unknown that gets them.
It's funny to hear you say that. I in a weird quirk of how this all worked out, I didn't have to do any requests, mostly because I think I was part of the campaign designers. So I put all the materials together, helped put a lot of the materials together and things like that. But at one point, my parents were asked to participate, and they got really nervous as part of their parish. It was like, we know these people. How are we going to do it? And I was like, I kind of sat there looking at them. I go, I'll do it with you. What do you need? I will be there in the room when you make the phone calls. I'll help. We'll practice together. We'll work out the script, and we'll just make it happen.
Yeah.
And God bless them. They're very open-minded people. They were like, even though this couldn't have been further afield from anything that they would want to do, and they were like, okay, let's do it. Because that parish was getting close to the end, and they weren't sure if they were going to make their numbers. So they reached out to my parents, got their own committee. There is a burnout that happens with this kind of stuff. And so if a committee has been formed for a year, you get to that end, and it's difficult for people to still have the energy to do it, which is perfectly normal, not strange in the least. So my parents were asked to step in, and they were fantastic. They were such naturals. I can't remember who was I think it was my dad. My dad who is a natural talker, but a little bit on the introverted side. he was like, I was like, Dad, I could hire you to do this. That was perfect. The manner in which he interacted with people, it was great. And I really wish I had videotaped it, because it would have been a great training opportunity for people.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think people give to people, and it's so effective when you sit down with them and you explain, the importance and why, their donation would truly matter. So I love that happens. I'm not surprised. I mean, you're very good. You're a good talker.
Yeah,
so.
but I fake it. But yeah, it's funny you should say that. I can already tell I'm talking too much on this podcast, and the last podcast I talked way too much. So feel free to interrupt me as often as you'd like. But one of the questions was, just going back to being surprised at donations. So my wife and I, we have a healthy donation background. We like to donate the stuff. And so when we got our Catholic Strong letter, after we looked at the sticker shock, because major diocesan campaigns generally have a pretty high price tag on them, because as we explained to people that, well, this is different than like your Sunday offering or even the House of Charity, which is what you're working on now, which is an annual offering. A diocesan offering like this, or diocesan/parish offering, is sort of a once every 10-year thing. So it's a sacrificial offering, which essentially means it's going to come with a little bit of pain. We're going to encourage you to give in a way that would really is going to make an impact. And oftentimes that's more money than people ordinarily think of in their donations. So when we read the letter, and my wife and I talked about it a little bit, and once she sort of like came back from the sticker shock, we're discussing, and she's a accountant, so she knows where all our money is and how best to use it. And she came back at me with a number that, like, I remember sitting there going, I can't believe you actually said that many digits out loud. But I was like, I mean, we talked about it and prayed about it, and at the end of the day, we're like, yeah, it's doable and it's important. So let's do it. And I mean, I was the guy on the program, and I was still dragging my feet, and I was like, no. My wife is absolutely right. This is what we should do, and this is the amount we should give, and it's a good parish, and what the diocese is looking to do. I wrote it, so I know it's important. But let's consider it and let's move forward. And we haven't talked about it again. We were like, okay, let's do it, and we'll do it, and we'll make it happen. And it's been great.
Yeah.
I hope.
And with Archdiocese of St. Louis, how big is it compared to Camden?
Oh, it's big. There's over 100 parishes there. So, I mean, and that's why their goal was so big, over $100 million. It's significantly larger.
So is it more, so what about like geographically? I know this diocese is about 2 hours from north to south, 2.5. Is it kind of with the traveling there? Was it?
I think it would be similar. I think 2.5 hours would be. No.
The Diocese of Camden isn't 2.5 hours from side to side.
Well, I would think. Well, for me,
60
from
minutes.
Cherry Hill to Cape May, it's about 2 hours.
Really? Because
yeah.
Left to right, from when I go to Camden to Ocean City, it's 60 minutes.
Okay.
So left to right is maybe Cape May would be a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I do Camden to Cape May, and it's hour 20.
Oh wow. Okay.
So, but I drive really fast.
Yeah, you're just a speed demon.
I am. That's true.
But the well,
I guess would it be more similar to Philly, maybe, in that kind of layout? That's sort of a metropolitan area.
Yeah, but there's also like farmland. I remember going to. Yeah, because it's a large archdiocese. So I'm trying to remember how long. I can't remember the length of my drives. I'm pretty sure I did at least 1 2-hour drive though.
I believe it.
Yeah.
What was the goal? I mean, I know it was $100 million goal, but what were they raising money for?
So their money was strictly for Catholic education. They were going to put it in an endowment fund, and one of the areas that I thought was really cool. Well, they were going to do tuition assistance, but also kind of help with their STREAM program. So science, technology, religion, education. Yeah. You know what? I don't need to say it all. Yep. And one of the things they were thinking about doing was like a Shark Tank kind of thing. If somebody has like a good idea on how to better, do something with their science or, technology or anything like that, they can bring it to I'm assuming a board or something to present it. And if, it is something that they feel like they should fund, they would give them a grant. And then if it works, they could implement it across the Archdiocese.
Wow.
Yeah. So I haven't heard too much recently. I should probably check in with them to see how it's all going.
Yeah. I like that. I like a good progressive plan. That's nice. Yeah.
It was awesome. I thought it was a really cool first campaign to be a part of.
And what about Trenton? What was their goal? And what was their number goal and what were they raising money for?
Their number goal, was it 75 million or 65 million? I think it was 65 million. And for the life of me, it's crazy that I remember St. Louis and I can't remember Trenton.
That's okay.
It's crazy. It's like 2.5, 3 years ago. It's like, how do I not remember that? I'll get back to you though.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, that's so bad. Meg Simeo, if she's listening to it, is screaming, Katie Comerford.
We'll figure it out. We'll fix it in post. Well, and then the Camden Diocese was the most unique of them all, I think, in the sense that our diocese, at least from what we understand, it was the most unique. Our diocesan program campaign wasn't really for the diocese. 30% of the money raised would go to the diocese, but 70% of the money was staying in the parishes, which from what we've heard around is unheard of. A diocesan campaign always goes to the diocese. And we essentially created a diocesan-wide parish campaign where most of the money was kept locally.
Yeah, that was so cool. When we were starting the preparations with you guys, I know that Changing Our World was very excited about that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so important to make sure that your parishes are, stable and comfortable, and to be able to say that amount of money is coming back for what you need. I think that's great.
Yeah.
So it was fun to be a part of that.
And with the people that you've met here in Camden and in Trenton and in St. Louis, there has to be some commonality between what they need, what their feelings are, their faith. Can you speak a bit about that? Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons I absolutely love working with the Catholic Church and doing faith-based work, is just seeing how important everybody's faith is and how much they want to help others, and just the instinctual generosity that they portray with the offertory, with their annual appeal, with the campaign. As Mike said, you get that sticker shock initially, but seeing how people really come together and do make that sacrificial gift. And you can tell, like, I got a phone call from somebody out in St. Louis, and she said, look, I'm canceling my cable so I can make a donation. And, it's not much, but this is what I can do. And I want to say, like, I teared up just listening to how much she felt, like this was important, that she needed to support it. And she was going to make that kind of, sacrifice in order, because for me, like cable, I need my cable. So, so for her to do something like that was just so wonderful.
That's something that your predecessors and Marianne have said when we've had them on the podcast as well, which is, oftentimes we think of fundraising as much like public relations, as I'm using air quotes here, a necessary evil. That we have to do it. But when I talk to your predecessors, they have said to me repeatedly that in reality, fundraising is a spiritual exercise. It's something where, why we're raising the money is for spiritual activities of one kind or another, whether service or vocations, or to build something in a church. And my parish used the Changing Our World money to do a number of rehabilitation to the church. It was desperately needed, but it is very much faith-based, and you are asked to pray about your gift. It's something that really, if fundraising is done correctly, fundraising in the Catholic Church is done correctly, it actually should be bringing you back to your church, back to your faith even more strongly, and enlightening enlightening for you things going on, not just in the parish, but things going on of a spiritual nature. Like, as a parish, are we doing enough for youth and young adults? As a parish, are we doing enough for the Hispanic community? As Catholics, are we doing enough for the outside community? What are we doing for non-Catholics? And then what are we doing for lapsed Catholic? Those are all questions of spiritual importance that end up becoming the fulcrum for these fundraising activities. And if they're not done authentically, which is a problem sometimes, if this is just, it makes it look good, no, this is something you really actually have to make it a close part of your faith so that, this is a meaningful fundraising. This isn't a tax, dodge. This is something where we're going to be able to really make a difference in the people going to our parishes. So if you read all of our stuff that we created, it was always of a spiritual nature, because at the end of the day, that's really what we were looking for. We talked about missionary discipleship throughout the initial write-ups of the Catholic Strong campaign, because we knew that raising this money had to affect change in the parishes that would bring people back to the church, but more importantly, help us go out to the people.
Yeah.
So it was very spiritually in mind. I actually got a little, even in my own parish, I was a little disappointed when people used it for to build stuff. I'm like, well, building stuff's important, and you do need to have a good home to bring people back to. But I want to see programs being formed that were going to reach the outskirts.
Oh, absolutely. And I always loved, because I would work closely with the parishes when they would create their case elements and what they were going to use their percentage for. And just seeing the thought and the time that the pastors took to really figure out what works, and reaching out to parishioners to see what they felt was needed. I felt like it was really nice to see. They took it seriously, and it was exciting when they thought outside the box. Yeah,
and that was funny. It's like it's a cool little sort of collection of ideas, these fundraising campaigns. On the one hand, you want people to be progressive and thinking outside the box. On the other hand, we also tell people, okay, listen, this is not the first time this has been tried, particularly when you bring in a vendor like Changing Our World. You're like, follow the plan. If you follow the plan, everything will be okay. If you decide to go rogue, we can't promise anything. And, even in our diocese, I'm sure you saw it in other dioceses, the parishes that decided they were going to do their own thing tended to be the parishes that had the biggest problems.
Yep.
You follow the plan, you're going to be successful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, so you've been Associate Director of Development for how long?
About 5 months.
5 months, okay. And so was it easy you've had this familiarity with pastors and priests. How was that transition going from Changing Our World?
So I'm loving it, because one of the things that always was hard for me working with a consulting firm is that you're kind of that transplant that nobody really 100% trusts. Like, they end up trusting you once you work with them, and you have that opportunity to show that you care about their parish, you care about what they're raising money for, and you care about the campaign in general. So, getting your foot in the door at that point, it's a little unnerving initially. And now, being the Associate Director of Development and being a part of the Camden team, it's been great to have had that experience with some of the pastors already. So I got a lot of welcome back, we've missed you, come to the parish, come see us. And for those that I haven't, I'm actually reaching out to, as we speak, to go and meet with them and kind of allow them to get to know me, allow myself to get to know them, what's working with their House of Charity campaign, what isn't, what do I need to know, how can I help? So it's been a really good transition for me, because I just feel comfortable. I believe in the House of Charity. I believed in the House of Charity before I was even running the House of Charity. So I would say I'm very passionate about it, and these pastors have been, nothing but welcoming, and the parish teams that I've met so far have been fantastic. And we actually just had our first volunteer appreciation event in June, and that was my that was my opening. That was my way to get to know all the people that, or at least some people that put all their energies and efforts into it. So it's been a lot of fun for me to finally, kind of get out there and meet people.
Yeah.
Mike, how many new pastors are there now?
5.
5? Okay. Now, so I guess that's something too. I guess now you have to go to, or those new pastors have to kind of get to know the lay of the land.
Yes.
So that is it.
Well, and that doesn't count the new administrators that we have. We also have those new administrators.
Exactly.
There's some new blood for you to work with.
Can't wait.
I know.
I cannot wait.
And the House of Charity. I mean, what's beautiful about the House of Charity, which has been recognized nationally for what a great job it does under the auspices of your predecessors, Jim Lanahan and Sheila McGurl. It's really this wonderful entity that we put together. It's an annual, it's an annual donation to the charity, this entity that supports all of these other entities within the diocese. So the Hispanic Ministry and Catholic Charities and elements of Vitality Catholic Healthcare Services and vocations and Catholic schools and a host of others, Black Catholic Ministry and so many other organizations or elements of the diocese that we have that really are integral to maybe not every parish, but every parish has used part of those elements. And certainly in vocations, it's a godsend to vocations. That's one of the things that we as Catholics, we really need to support. But this has really been your first time to sort of be at the head of putting the House of Charity together. So how are you feeling about that as you've been mulling it over what the 2020 House of Charity will feel like?
Yes, so I'm feeling good. You've been really helpful. I've loved meeting you and meeting the team, and kind of starting to brainstorm ideas. Definitely nerve-wracking, having this being my first time doing it on my own, but I think it's going. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve and get as much done now as I can. So, when the time comes, it won't be, any last minute stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm feeling good. I just...
that is the nice thing about coming to something that's well established.
Yes.
You know where all the benchmarks are.
I do. Mary Kelly in particular was really good at keeping all of her stuff documented. So for me, I'm just following that and, seeing what's working, what do I need to kind of tweak a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I'm feeling excited. It's starting to feel like my baby in a sense, like,
good.
I'm starting it, like I'm starting it, I'm here and I'm helping prepare for the 2020. So to see it from start to finish will be fantastic. I'm very excited.
No, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So speak a bit. Let's get back. So were you born into the Catholic faith?
Yes. Yes, I was.
And so, how has that played a part in your life?
I mean, it's been a huge part of my life. My grandma was really the one that kind of kept me going with the faith, and we would go to church together every Sunday, and that ended up being something that my dad and I did together. So it's been a very bonding thing for us, mm-hmm. To kind of celebrate in it together. So that was literally what I did growing up until now. I still go to church with my dad at 7:30 on Sundays. He doesn't even live in this area. I go to Diocese of Metuchen for it.
Wow. That is a good love of a daughter right there.
Yeah, guess what time the Mass is at?
7:30?
Yes.
Okay, you said 7:30.
Oh, I did.
But that's okay.
Oh, man. I was so impressed, Mike.
Thank you. Well, I was sitting here going, oh man, I miss 7:30 Mass. 7:30 Masses are my favorite.
They're the best.
Yeah, there's something, you go, there is how does best put it? There is depending on how each parish does it, but the 7:30 Mass I've been to in the past, there is a quiet to the 7:30 Mass that doesn't happen in the later Masses. And as someone who is an introvert and B, appreciates the quietness, mm-hmm. I really like a good 7:30 Mass.
Oh, yeah. I love it. It's an early morning, though. That's a good way to start the day.
Yeah. And that is, particularly when you're driving to the Metuchen Diocese.
Yep.
Wow. You go up the Turnpike?
Yep.
It's probably not that crowded on
It's,
Sunday
I
morning.
never have trouble with the Turnpike. It's a beautiful, beautiful road for me.
Yeah.
What town does he live in?
So he lives in Sayreville.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's right by South Amboy, East Brunswick, that area.
Wow. You do a
that
lot of
like
driving in
actually-
your life.
I do. Oh, so fun fact. I got my new leased car. And I got it when I was working in Princeton, which was 6 miles away from my house. So I wasn't worried about it. I got this car in January. I'm at 13,000 miles.
Yeah.
13,000. That's going to be a big bill at the end of this.
I would love to have a lease car. I like changing out my cars as often as I can, just because I like having the new stuff. But because working in the diocese, people like us who travel around all the parishes, I'm at 14,000 miles already this year. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I have to seriously consider just buying out this car and not stressing about it anymore.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm not even halfway. Actually, I'm probably just at my halfway point for the year, and it's not looking promising. I'm already 1,000 miles over my limit. So it's an ongoing joke.
You think
now.
this is a gorgeous job that we have working in the diocese. You would be amazed at all the things that we have to deal with, particularly that you wouldn't think about. I had a really nice car, but it was getting up there in miles, and it's the kind of car that was very expensive to fix. And so even though I usually keep my cars for 10 years, I got rid of it at the 5-year mark and bought a Toyota that I was like, if I'm at this job for any length of time, I am going to put on 200,000 miles on this car in no time. And I'm already up. I'm just shy of 50,000 miles now. And I'm like, thank goodness I bought a Toyota, because you just need something that's bulletproof and it's going to just keep going and going and going when you're on the road all the time.
Yeah.
So no fancy cars for me.
Yeah, I'm starting to think I'm going to have to do the same thing.
Now, so you had mentioned before, which college did you go to?
Montclair,
Okay, so you're a Jersey girl through and through.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, just being a good Jersey girl, which of these shore locations is your preferred shore location?
Lavalette.
Where's Lavalette at? I've heard that.
Lavalette is Diocese of Trenton, so it's up, north a little bit.
Like
It's
south of Brick or north of Brick?
It's south of Brick.
Okay.
It's not that far from Long Beach Island.
Okay, so that's in your
Yes,
territory.
that is
All
my
right. I
favorite
was going to
place,
say
Long Beach
Lavalette.
Island.
That's definitely not as... Okay.
Yeah, Lavalette, my family vacations there every year.
Yeah.
And it's just, we've been vacationing there since I was a little kid. And this is the first year that I'm not even going to stop by to go. Yeah, I'm going to Cancun instead. So
Oh, well,
I can't complain.
Okay, yeah, you're okay.
Yeah, I can't complain about that.
That's nice. And then you mentioned your husband.
Yes.
Okay. And you've been married to him for how long?
Just over a year.
Wow.
We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary.
All right.
Don't know how he's done it, but
Well, I had the exact same thought when I was, we hit our 1 year. And now we're coming up on 20. 20 and it'll be in just shy of, just over a month.
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But that first year I remember people saying, I'm surprised you guys haven't killed each other. Not that you would divorce each other, but I would have thought by now one of you would have murdered the other, because we're both type A. Well, I'm not really type A. She's a type A, but we're both firstborns and we're always right. So, you can imagine. We've learned over 20 years, though, that sometimes we might be wrong and we might need to compromise. It's been great. The one area that we haven't compromised about, however, is she is not as huge a Marvel fan as I am. So getting back to our initial conversation and the great gift your husband bestowed upon you, love of Marvel. Let us have our Marvel conversation now.
Beautiful. Let's do it.
So, what is the best of the Marvel, your top 5 Marvel movies?
Okay. So I would say I'm a huge Guardians of the Galaxy fan.
That's because you're a smart person.
It's fantastic.
They're the best.
They're hilarious. I like both of them. So I would say those two would be top 5. Captain Marvel is up there now for me.
Sure. She's great.
I love her. She was awesome. Now I have to pick carefully because there's 2 more spots. I love Endgame. And do I do Endgame and Infinity War, though? It's like, I feel like there's so many good ones, you know?
Here's the thing. All right, so technically they were supposed to be they were supposed to be a sequel of each other. They're supposed to be Avengers 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
And then they decided to make them independent movies, though obviously connected. I find that as big a Marvel guy as I am, and I've rewatched, I always buy I never buy the single Marvel movies. Like I don't buy Ant-Man, I don't buy Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But the combination ones I will buy. So I got Endgame I got Infinity War and I loved it. But the thing that surprised me is I have a hard time rewatching it because it is ultimately depressing.
Yeah.
Because of how it ends, right?
Oh goodness.
Even though it has such great parts in it, right? Whereas Endgame, I cannot wait for July 30th to come out.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to watch that every night for a month because I've never. In all the movies I've watched in my entire life, I've never choked up as many times as I have and had got such glee out of other elements of it than any other movie I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh. So can I tell you, I was watching Endgame in the theaters and we already did spoilers, right? Like, can I say?
Yeah. We're past all this.
Awesome.
We're going to spoil things, people.
Yeah, spoilers, people, for Tom O'Shea. He hasn't seen it yet.
Do not listen to the next minute if you do not want to know spoilers.
There you go.
I listen to a lot of podcasts, but so when Iron Man dies, right? It was a very obviously somber moment. Everybody's feeling it. And then a girl in the third, fourth row starts wailing. And I was like, oh, poor woman. Like, oh my gosh, is she okay? She goes out and then she's walking up the aisle because I guess she wanted to cry in peace. Fell to the ground.
Oh no.
Bawling, just kneeling on the ground at the entrance. And we're just like, moment ruined.
That would be a bit much.
Yeah, she fell to the ground. I couldn't believe it. My husband and I were just like, did this really just happen? Like, and he's tearing up, I'm tearing up, and then all of a sudden we're what's going on?
Yeah. Right.
It's not like anyone could see me do that, but
she was wiping fake
my tears.
A memory of tears away from her eyes, people. I agree. Like and even not just the end. There were parts earlier in even before Iron Man dies where I was really choking up when all the female Avengers showed up for some reason. You're a common everyday dude, and when I saw them come together, I was like, oh man, I know they are purposely pulling my heartstrings right now, but I got chills.
Oh yeah.
I got a moment when the On Your Left happened. Prior to that, it was like, because I don't know why I forgot the snap or the blip happens. Now we must refer to it as the blip. The snap is where they all went away. The blip is where they all came back.
Okay.
For those of you who, I guess that's not too much of a spoiler of Spider-Man, than the newest word, but they discuss how everybody comes back. Anyway, there's a blip. So we won't spoil any more Spider-Man for you, but that's only been out for a week. But they determined it's referred to as a blip. So the blip happens, and I had completely forgotten. Like, I'm watching the movie with everyone else. I'm like, man, I guess they're all going to die at Thanos' hands now, because Captain America's been beaten down, his shield's torn in half, and then the On the Left happens. I'm like, oh, that's right, they all got blipped back.
Yep.
Like, I forgot about that part. Oh, there's a whole bunch. There's another 20 minutes of battle to come.
Yeah,
this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah, the moment for me was the Captain America and Thor's hammer.
That was my joyful moment. The other previous almost crying moment was the battle to die first between Black Widow and Clint, and I was like, and the fact that it turned so many times before one of them finally made it down to the bottom.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, this is the most amazing thing ever. And I loved every part of that. Oops. I like that we're having another mini Avengers recap show. That's good.
So your top. So you picked the three. The two were Avengers. Yeah.
And then Endgame. If I might help you.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm with you. I'm with the two Guardians, definitely. I'm with Endgame. I'm with Thor Ragnarok.
Amazing movie.
Thor Ragnarok.
So funny.
It's when you realize, the previous Thor movies were bad.
Yep. 100%.
Thor should be this guy, which we also once again then saw in Endgame as well. Like, oh man, Chris Hemsworth, you're so funny.
Yeah.
And then for the fifth spot, I found that I go back and watch Doctor Strange a lot. The first half, like I find that I skip through like what happens to him. And then once he goes to Comerford and starts the training montage and then everything else, like everything from then on, I love the whole rest of the movie. Just the first act, I'm not a big fan of.
Okay.
You disagree? Not a big Doctor Strange?
It's just one of the things that I think of when I'm, putting my list together is how much of it do I remember? And I don't remember much of it. And I just feel like for me, it was a character I wasn't that familiar with. So I guess I wasn't as excited about the movie in general, though it was good. Like, it was good. I liked it.
Well, that's the thing. Even your worst Marvel movie is like,
Yeah.
I think we can all agree Thor 2 is probably the worst of them if you're not going to, depending on your feelings about the Hulk.
Yeah.
It just, because you didn't have a really good villain. That's the key to all Marvel movies is a good villain. And man, all the ones we just routed off had pretty good villains in them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although now that I said Doctor Strange, I'm thinking back to Captain Marvel, and there were really parts of Captain Marvel I really loved. The problem was I didn't love them until the third act. Like I liked everything about the first act, but until she became Captain Marvel, which is the last 15 minutes of the movie, 20 minutes of the movie, it's like, now I'm here. I got it.
Yeah.
Like when she just destroys the Kree. Was it the Kree? Yeah, I guess it was the Kree ships. And then takes out like one of Ronan the Accuser's ships, and then all the missiles that were fired down. I'm like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm in.
Oh, every second of that movie, I was so enveloped in it.
Really?
Yeah. I know my fifth.
Okay.
Civil War.
Oh, of course. Yes, that's a perfect Civil War. I mean, that's a perfect choice. Yeah, that's been on TBS a lot, or not? Maybe it wasn't TBS. Maybe it was FX, and I've watched it every time it's been on.
It's so good.
Yeah, I would say.
I keep hoping for Iron Man to win that last fight, and it just never happens.
No.
See, I kind of like the movies you guys didn't mention. The two movies I would probably put on my list are Captain America, the first Avenger, and the first Ant-Man. Just because Captain America, the first Avenger, I just think it's such a throwback. It's set in the 1940s, and it's directed by one of my favorite, directed by Joe Johnston, who also directed one of my favorite movies ever, The Rocketeer, which is underappreciated. Look it up, kids. It is probably like at least 25 years old, with Jennifer Connelly and Bill. I can't remember his name now. And Timothy Dalton is the bad guy, and that's so good. That's set in the same time period. But Captain America, the first Avenger, felt very much like that because of the director.
Well, that's what Marvel does so well. That's one of the things. So Ant-Man is such a great movie because if you remember, Ant-Man came out after Civil War or Ultron. Was it after Ultron? It was a palate cleanser, right? So it was this tiny little movie that ended up being, and I mean tiny by Marvel standards, but that was essentially a heist movie. And then Captain America, the first Avenger, was a 1940s era movie. I mean, if you look at it, everything they did in it looked like what a 1940s movie would look like now if someone did it. And they did it beautifully. That's why they were so great. And that's the beauty of the Marvel movies. Like people always say, well, when are Marvel movies going to run out of steam? So long as Kevin Feige's in charge, the producer of Marvel Studios, I kind of think they might not because each of the movies is so unique. So, I mean, Black Panther isn't actually like any of the other movies. If you look at the elements of it, it doesn't resemble a Marvel movie in any other way other than the fact that it's a Marvel movie that has a superhero in it. But other than that, it's completely unique. The Ant-Man movies are completely unique to the other Marvel movies. The only time where those characters actually envelop the same universe is when you have Avengers, Age of Ultron, Civil War being the rare Captain America movie, and then Infinity War and Endgame. So I love it. Yeah. And Captain Marvel was the same thing. That was a 90s era movie. That was a movie right out of, I don't know, Swingers, I guess. when you think of 90s era movies. Yeah. That was great. I loved it. Loved everything about it. And let's have more.
What?
Let's have more. Did you see, by the way, did you see Spider-Man?
I did.
Did you see Spider-Man?
I didn't. I'm really upset about it. I know. So my husband went. I was supposed to go, but I wasn't feeling. I started feeling sick, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay home. So he went with his friend, and the whole time he was gone, I was just so mad at myself. I was like, I should have just done it, but he wants to see it again, so
good.
He'll take me.
I'm kind of, but thank goodness, I have an 11-year-old son who will make me go to these movies again, and I won't feel weird about it. Because that one, usually I see everything on opening night, and for that one, I actually resisted so that Jack and I could go together to see the movie, and Jennifer came along as well for this one. She doesn't always come. But we had a blast. She was laughing out loud the entire time. But yeah, it's great. You're going to love it. It's wonderful. There are things that happen in it that you will not see coming.
Okay.
And I apologize for explaining the blip to you.
No, that's totally fine. I am obsessed with Tom Holland. He's
great.
He's such a good Spider-Man. He's so adorable and just so like during Infinity War when he was dusted, that I cried with that part because he's just so good. He's like a kid, like.
Well, and that's what's so good about the Spider-Man movies is that in the Spider-Man, I mean, they're using a teenage. Well, he's not a teenager anymore, but they're in that teenager world, and it comes across as I mean, it's perfectly fine for adults to see it, but it has these teenager qualities to it that I think teens would enjoy seeing. I mean, I think a teenager seeing that movie will go, I see myself in that.
Yeah.
I really do.
Oh, absolutely.
Now is he the best Spider-Man?
I think so.
I kind of think so.
Really?
I really like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, particularly 1 and 2.
Yeah, those
3
are
was a little
phenomenal.
Yeah, and I like Sam Raimi in general. But I gotta say, being part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's certainly a different version of Spider-Man as compared to the Sam Raimi ones. I would love to see Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse live action.
Ooh, me too.
Where all those characters come back again. So long as Peter Porker comes with him as well in some way. I don't know how you do that in live action, but but Spider-Man Noir, and it'd be great to see Red Scarlet in there as well. Or the Scarlet Spider.
Yeah, Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
Now we're going to deep dive into Spider-Man.
Yeah, see, it's all comic stuff
But
now.
the movie, you were talking about the cartoon.
I also want to see the Hobgoblin, the Green Goblin. I want to see all the. The other thing on top of everything else, I want to see all the bad guys.
Yeah.
Now, that's the thing I was going to say, that Spider-Man has the best rogues gallery, I guess they call it, in comics.
Yes.
And I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but I just love Mysterio as a character. I was so excited that he was in this movie.
So was I. And I loved what they did with Vulture, who was a weird character in the comic books, even in the cartoons. And so with Spider-Man Homecoming, they did a great job creating the whole Vulture backstory. And they've done a nice job of incorporating these sort of like lower level villains into their storyline. So from what I heard, Tom Holland is signed for another 6 movies.
Oof.
That means we're going to get all the villains we want. Because Spider-Man, you're right, does have the. I mean, we haven't seen Doc Ock yet in the MCU. We haven't seen Doctor Doom in the MCU yet. Now that he's back from Sony, I can't wait to see what this Phase 4 is going to look like.
Yeah.
My worry is that they're going to go in a completely different route. Except every time I think that Marvel is about to screw something up, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And I even saw some misogynists kind of hit Captain Marvel a few times. Like, they were dinging it. It was like, oh, it's too on the nose about women empowerment. I was like, shut the hell up.
Yeah.
It was great.
And so you binged the movies for, you said, a week?
Yeah, I would say, because I got there, or I started being interested in Marvel maybe 10 movies in. Maybe 8 movies in, so it wasn't a lot. Like I got in it pretty quick.
Got it.
So we didn't have too many to watch, but he was very excited to have that opportunity to rewatch it. And I think when I started getting excited about it, he was like, "Yes, I have someone to go with now."
That was Jack for me. It was like, because I was kind of into Marvel when he was first. Like I did a slow into Marvel too. Like I didn't. Like I saw Iron Man eventually. I think I actually saw it on DVD. And then I saw Incredible Hulk eventually. And then I think Captain America, the first Avenger, was the first one I saw in the theater. And then Thor, I was like, I don't want to see Thor. But so I saw Thor when it came out. I don't know. I guess I saw it when it came out on VOD. And by the time I hit Thor, I was like, all right, I think I need to start watching these things right away. So then I think so. I want to say Iron Man 2 was probably the first one where I started seeing them in the theater as close to opening night as possible. But Iron Man 3 is actually one of my favorites as well. Like I can watch that all the time because I love that director.
Yeah.
Oh shoot, what's his name? Something Black. I can't remember his
Shane
name.
Black.
Shane Black. He did such a great job sort of turning the whole Iron Man franchise on its head a little bit and completely taking him out of his element, and even the credits at the end. I get such a kick at watching the credits are like an 80s era like Magnum PI kind of thing. And I love it. I love everything about it. So that's what's so great. I love the fact that they bring in unique directors like Taika Waititi for Thor Ragnarok, which completely changed that franchise.
Oh, yeah.
I'm also told Chris Hemsworth is signed. He's not done with his deal yet, so that means we get some more Thor in our lives, not
Or
just
maybe Guardians.
or as Guardians of the Galaxy.
How cool would that be?
I hope he stays with the Guardians. I would love to see that.
Him
that
and
element.
Peter going back and forth.
Oh yeah,
That was fantastic.
yeah.
Oh,
It makes the comics have done a lot with them. And then even they can't do Iron Man anymore, but he was a part of it too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the blank at the blank at the blank at the end of Spider-Man. I mean, that opens up. That might be what we're looking at for the entirety of the next run.
all right. I need to buy tickets for tonight.
I can't believe
Yes.
you can.
No,
and when you do see it, come see Pete and I so we can discuss it with you. 'Cause
Oh, I will.
I haven't, other than Jack, I really haven't had anyone to do a deep dive. But as soon as we were done, as soon as we got out of the theater and back home, I read every review I could, just diving into, okay, what were those end credit scenes? I mean, and what do I need to be? Oh my God, I just realized one of the end credit scenes you don't know about yet. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
The first end credit scene may blow your mind.
Oh, man.
Or it might not. It depends. Actually, it depends on what your history with other movies are. I can't tell you anywhere that. But yeah, you should really buy tickets soon.
Oh, I will. I am so excited about it, and I was so bummed that I missed it. And I know Ben likes to watch, Ben, my husband, he likes to watch them pretty close to one another because the second time around is when it all kind of clicks for him. So he's going to want to see it ASAP
Yes.
so he can
Make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll just text him after this and be like, "Hey, let's buy some tickets for tonight.
Hey, not bad.
7:30 Spider-Man."
All right. Well, I think it's time to wrap up. We did this is our impromptu Marvel podcast. But Katie, thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was
you.
great.
Next time we have a movie review, let's see, we won't be reviewing anything until 20. Well, we don't really know when the next movie's coming out, so we'll assume sometime in 2020 we'll do our next Marvel thing.
Well, I hear they're doing they're letting everyone know what the next phase is looking like at Comic-Con.
Yes.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
either Comic-Con or Disney 23. That's what we're not quite certain of yet.
Interesting. Okay.
So, but before the end of the summer, because I think Disney 23, I think, is in early August.
Okay.
Because it's kind of back to back with Comic-Con. So yeah, I think that's when we're going to find out, and we will at that point we will know what the run, or at some point soon we'll know what the run of the new Disney Plus Marvel shows are going to be.
can't
I'm very
wait.
excited about those too. Yeah, like I still can't figure out what WandaVision could possibly be. But I think the fact that Loki stole the Tesseract at the end of his part of Endgame, like, oh man, everything's open now.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what happens. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for listening. For those of you who hate Marvel, sorry for making you listen to this. But for everyone else, hope you enjoyed it. And we'll talk to everybody next week. See you, everyone.